There is no reason in the world for us to believe that European Americans will ever educate our children correctly. Ain't no reason in the world. Why would you believe that? What would give you the idea that you could ever convince these people to educate your children right? I don't care how much you protest, how much you demand, they will never do it. What they will end up doing is getting some white folks to teach them Afrocentric orientations. Because anybody in their right mind would know that anyone who has systematically blocked you from knowing for 3 centuries will not change overnight, over a year, over a decade, over a score of years, or even over a century. The only way we'll ever be able to really educate our children is to do it ourselves.
It's popping and stuff.
Okay.
All right, greetings and welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show, one powerful hour of truth, dispelling falsehood. I'm your host, Brother Darrell Muhammad, and we're very happy that you have joined us today. Tonight we have a wonderful and what we call a special guest tonight, and that special guest, let me see if we can refresh here. And that special guest is none other than Brother Abdul Muhammad, who, of course, we will discuss the very important issue, the very important topic of education. And, of course, Brother Abdul, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. For some reason, our screen, I don't know if your screen is frozen or not.
No, my screen is fine.
Okay, good deal. It's mine. Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
I'm animated. Okay, good deal.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Go ahead, brother. Introduce yourself. I think we seem to lost Brother Darrell.
Okay. Peace and blessings, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Brother Abdul Muhammad. I am a lifelong educator in the city of Chicago, and I have been educating Chicago public school system for over 25 years. My career in education spans almost 30 years, but I've been 26 years, in the Chicago public schools. My years in Chicago public schools, I was awarded the Teacher of the Year award. I was nominated 4 years or 5 years consecutively for the Who's Who among American high school teachers. I was received several different honors and awards for my work in public education. I was honored by the city council. And there was a proclamation in Chicago when I won the Teacher of the Year award, where they honored me in the city council for the work that I've done in the classroom. But my passion, my life, my purpose in life is to educate our children. As our brother Naeem Akbar just broke down beautifully, as Black people, we have to take the ownership of the education of our children in our community. We cannot allow those who are outside of our communities to educate our children. This is the problem and the challenge that we're facing. And I'm sure this is why Brother Darrell brought on the
Yes.
proper education. And what we need to do, we love to discuss the problem, the lack of resources in our community. But tonight we want to talk about a solution, and that solution lies in the proper people. So Brother Darrell, you're back, so let's get into it. The viewers that, my career spans 30 years. I graduated from Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I have been an educator in Chicago for 30 years, educating our children in some of the so-called worst environments. I have been blessed. Allah has blessed me to go into the so-called worst environments and completely transform them for Black children.
Absolutely. And the thing is that I know that a lot of our children come from homes without structure. There's been a concerted effort, of course, to break up the Black family. And when you break up the
Absolutely.
black family, the children that come from those broken type of environments are children that don't come in the same way maybe that you and I came in into school, having structure at the home. So how do you deal with those things? You know, we talk about everybody talks about test scores, and there's a lot of talk about the pipeline from school to
prison pipeline.
Yes,
absolutely.
And so if you can elaborate on some of
so
those.
you kind of gave me 4 subjects at one.
Yes, sir.
So family, the federal government legalized welfare. One of the prerequisites in order to get assistance from the federal government for Black families was that no man could be in the home. So that was by design. That was intentional, an intentional policy developed by the federal government that led to the destruction of the Black family. So here we are in 2025, where we have a large number of our children who are born in single parent homes. And it doesn't mean that the Black father is not present. So that's a myth. So let's dispel that myth right now. Because our present in the home is that family unit that has been destroyed, but it doesn't mean that the Black fathers are absent. So when there is no structure, or when children come from environments that are not structured, the number one thing that we have to do as educators is bring them into an environment that is structured. So this is one of the number one things that we do when we go in and transform these schools. We have to create an environment that is structured so that the children that are coming from an environment that lacks structure can have that structure. If you talk to any teacher, or childhood, middle school, secondary, they will say that children need routines. A good parent will say this. Children need routines. Children need to know what is going to happen and when it is going to happen and how it is going to happen. Children need routines. All a routine is a structure. If we think back in our mind to some of the most effective teachers, or the teachers that we thought were the most effective, those teachers had strong routines. So all that is the structure that is required in order to educate a child. All of the buildings that we see have a foundation, and the no matter how high the building is, right? All of these buildings have a strong foundation, and hidden in the building, in the pillars of the building, is the structure, the internal structure that holds up the weight of the building. But now, once you have that foundation and that internal structure, you can put whatever beautiful shell you want on that foundation and that internal structure. You can put whatever shell you want on it, but it's the foundation and the internal structure that supports the weight of the building. And it's the same thing in education. So when you have structure in the school and structures in the classroom, then you are able to more effectively educate children. So yes, structure. You talked about the family. You talked about structure. There was one other thing that you brought out. You talked about test scores. Well, Brother Daryl, it's 2025. And when we were released
2026, good bro.
2026, thank you, my brother. When we were released from slavery in 1865, there were no schools for Black children. And eventually they got around to allowing us to have one-room schoolhouses and things like that. And the point that I'm making is, in the area and realm of education, Black people have been behind. And the sad reality is, whenever that caused us to surpass white people, then that educational system was interfered with or destroyed. Whenever there was an educator that stood up to educate Black people and give them a superior education than what we were receiving, then those educators were railroaded. So we have the history of that. But the reality is, test scores are not the end all to be all. So we can't only focus on test scores when we're talking about educating our children. But for all the parents that are here that are concerned about test scores, I'm gonna say it real quick. I'm gonna give you the game. The number one key to being successful on a standardized test is reading. The more effectively a child reads, the better they're going to do on any standardized test they take. I just gave you the game for free. You don't have to pay for it. It's not about test prep. It's not about ACT. If you just have your child read on a regular, consistent basis, then your child will score high on any standardized test. Y'all got that for free.
Reading is the key.
Reading is the key.
That's the key to our standardized test. Now, when you education is one of those things that a lot of people in society have kind of given up on. You have a lot of college professors who are saying, and that's both at PWIs as well as HBCUs. I have heard that there is a less prepared product coming out of America's high schools. That there's so much remediation that needs to be done for a student that comes to college. And of course, you have raised some wonderful children who have done well academically. What kinds of things do we need to do to make sure that our children are prepared for what they face at a higher level should they choose to go there?
So for all of our parents that are in the chat that are viewing this broadcast, the public school is not going to educate your child to the point where your child will be a top competitor in America or in the world. So this is what the colleges are facing. They're and it's kind of nuanced situation because there's so many factors that challenge students in schools today. And all of those factors are present in high schools, and those students go to college. So it's not any one thing. But as a parent, if you want your child, your student, to be successful when they leave public school and they go into secondary education, then when they get home, they need to get another education when they get to the house. Because if you're relying only on the public school system, then the public school system, as you just stated, that you've heard from college professors at white colleges and black colleges, at Southern and at LSU, that the students are not coming in prepared. So that means as the parent, you must prepare them, and you must prepare them while they're at home with you. So that starts, before they go to school for pre-K or kindergarten, all the way through high school. And you mentioned my children, and this is one of the things that we were able to do that allowed our children to succeed and excel in education.
Absolutely. So they got a whole nother education at home, which is
absolutely. So I'm gonna make it real easy for people. So if you're in the car, you may have a commute that's 30 minutes going, 30 minutes coming back. So now that's an hour of instructional time that your child can be engaged in something instructional, as opposed to being on the phone, being on the iPad. So I'm not saying that because most of us work, and when we get home from work, we're human beings. We're tired when we get home. So look at the day and see, are there times in the day where you can build in these instructional moments for the child?
Absolutely. And the thing that they've said a lot of times, Brother Abdul, is that the presence of black teachers, how the presence of one or two black teachers increases the likelihood that a child will matriculate successfully through college. The presence of black teachers, if you can elaborate on that, because a lot of people would say, well, what difference does it make with the color of the teacher?
Well, that's a great question. The research that has been made public says it makes a great difference when a black child sees a black teacher, because what happens is when a black child sees a black teacher in front of them, it opens up the realm of possibility for that black child. There's going to be an automatic cultural connection between the black teacher and the black child, and that connection is going to allow that child to want to succeed more. So what we saw, brother, when in the 40s and 50s, we saw that these segregated schools produced 70s and the 80s. My mother, my father, they didn't go to integrated school. They went to segregated schools. And those segregated schools produced the Black middle class of the 70s and the 80s, because in the mind of the teacher was that there was a mission that needed to be accomplished, and that mission was the proper education of Black children. And so, and those teachers were able to accomplish the mission. Unfortunately, our parents, who were educated in those segregated schools by teachers that loved them and cared about them and wanted to see them on top, our parents thought they got shortchanged. And as soon as the Civil Rights Bill was passed and we were able to go to integrated schools, then our parents, if your parent was like mine, they did you the disservice of sending you to a school where nobody looked like you and you were busting and doing all of it. But that's historical fact, right? So now we have where our children across the country are receiving an inferior education. It's not just Black children are receiving an inferior education. And like you said, the students that get to college, they do not have the tools necessary. And the technology that is coming out is making it worse for colleges and schools, because the students now are dependent upon ChatGPT and these various artificial intelligence to attempt to do the work for them. And so now they don't even want to put forth the effort to do the work, because technology has made it so easy to just not do the work.
Absolutely.
So it's a catch-22 in education.
Man. Well, you know, that the Chat GPT thing is what a lot of college professors have been complaining about. And, you know, there have been students that have in college that have been disciplined in regard to utilizing Chat GPT instead of dealing with their own references and their own citation, so on and so forth. And we do know, you know, at least I did when I was a young man. I thought that writing these term papers was strictly an academic exercise that had no practical application, which is what I thought at the time. Not knowing that how to phrase a sentence, how to read material, come up with a hypothesis and read material and bring it together in a written form was really the crux of what it meant to be educated. So to be able to communicate in a written, to be able to communicate in the spoken word, and to be able to receive communication from both of those things was the mark of an educated person. And to be able to solve a problem using logic. And I think that that's what that algebra and that calculus was doing. Whether or not we decided to be engineers or not, those are some skills that as educated people we needed to have, just really just in life. My ability to figure some stuff out. If somebody give me some figures in an interview, in a job interview, I'm able to, in a split second, say, well, no, I think this salary would, because by the time this gets done or that gets done, then this will need to get done. And so you're able to figure things out because of the fact that you have some education, you know. And I think it helps you in this thing called life. Even though as children and as young adults, we didn't see the benefit of a lot of these things.
Right.
So,
well, you know, Brother Daryl, a lot of times children aren't going to see the benefit, but we as adults, we know the benefit. So we have to keep pushing them until they develop to the point where they see the benefit. So that is on our parents and our adults and our teachers to do. And you know, any field that we go into, anything that we want to do in life, no matter what it is, we will be more successful in that field if we're educated, and rather than not being educated in that field. And I know we have a lot of young people that want to go into entertainment, they want to go into sports, they want to be rappers. Whatever you want to do, the more educated you are in the field of what you want to do, the more successful you will be in that field. If you want to play basketball, the more educated you are about the business of basketball, which includes everything that you just said, then the more successful you will be and the more money you will make in something that you don't even think requires you to be educated. So if you look at all the greats, the thing that distinguished the greats is not just their skill, but their level of education in the field that they wanted to go into so that they could be successful. And we could use Floyd Mayweather as an example. There's so many examples in so many different realms of business and education. We could use, I mean, I know you're in Louisiana, so we could use Master P out of New Orleans as an example in music.
Certainly.
Because when Master P, before all of these rappers that we look up to got these so-called great deals, the godfather of the great music deal in hip-hop was Master P. Master P was the first artist to own 85% of everything that he sold. But it's because Master P was educated in business and knew that he deserved that 85%.
That's right.
So when he signed with, before Cash Money, before all of these people, we have to give Master P his credit, because Master P created the blueprint for all the others to come behind him and make the kind of money that they're making. But it was because Master P had a better education, and he applied that education into the business or the endeavor that he was involved in, and so he was able to make more money in that endeavor. So, absolutely. You know, that's just this one example. But any field that we go into, the better we're educated, the more successful we'll be in that field.
Absolutely. And I've always said, and of course it was told to me, and I've always repeated it, let me put it out there like that, that education should make you a lifelong learner.
Absolutely.
And so I order books all the time. You know, I have foundational books that I constantly study, but I'm you know, I've been a lifelong reader, curious about things. My mother and father are readers and have always been readers. And, you know, it's been said that leaders are readers. And so if we want our children to lead and make way for a better future, they have to become this thing called reader. And I'm always alarmed when I hear anybody say, I don't like to read. When somebody says that, that alarms me. I immediately understand that that person is going to have some significant problems in this thing called life. You know,
absolutely.
Not just with test scores, but hey, when you stop learning, you know, you're in some serious trouble. And as we are taught in Islam, that you are on the path of God as long as you are in the pursuit of knowledge.
Absolutely.
And that is the path that all of us need to be on. And it really starts with, as you talked about in your opening remarks, and that's a strong foundation that we all need to have in these things called reading, in this thing
Absolutely.
called writing, so on and so forth.
And I'll just say this real quick, just to tie it in with the Holy Quran verse. The first words when the angel Gabriel came to Prophet Muhammad, the first word that Prophet Muhammad read was read in the name of thy Lord. So this is how important reading is for all of us, that we should all have the book to read, of course, something educational, but reading period, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, reading will help to develop your mind. Reading, as you said, will help us develop our thoughts. So we have to get into the habit of reading, even if it's just a little bit every day. And this is what you do with your children. You give them a little bit every day until they can get more and more and more. And then you make them lifelong readers. Even if you're not a reader, like I love to read. If you're not a reader, just make that a habit for your child and they will become a reader. Turn the television off. Turn the iPad off. Put the phones away. I know what we use it as a babysitting device. But if you give your child a book rather than a phone or an iPad or a tablet, then at a certain point, that book will then become the babysitting device. And they'll be into the book just like they're into the iPad. Just like the iPad is quick and easy, but you lose so much with the child by giving them so much screen time that it delays them developmentally. So give them the book and help them develop their mind. And I'll say this, Brother Daryl, since we're talking about the education, I would be remiss if I didn't share what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad about education. He teaches us that education, the word educate, comes from the Latin root, which means to bring forth or to bring out. So knowledge is not, and education is not just about dumping something in, which is what we think. That's right. Not a real education. A real education recognizes that God has already deposited in every human being gifts and talents that can only be accessed with the key that we call an education. So all of us, everybody watching, everybody listening, everybody watching the replay was already born with gifts and talents from God himself. And what education does, it brings out what is within. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, it's one thing to know that iron ore is in the earth. It's another thing to bring it out and to put it in the service of self and others. So it's one thing to know that these gifts and talents are deposited within every human being from God, but it's another thing, it's a whole nother process to bring out the gifts and talents that have been deposited in every human being from God. But that is what a real education does. It brings out what's already within. So this is the goal of education. The goal of education is to bring out what God has deposited within every human being. So teachers are like coaches, because the coach doesn't give you talent. No coach gives a person talent. They recognize talent that is already present.
That's right.
But then after they recognize the talent, the coach then takes the talent and helps the talent to develop. May help you run a little faster, carry the ball a little, but the coach recognizes the raw talent, and then it develops the raw talent that is already there. So this is what a real education does for the human being. It brings out what God has put within every human being. So the question that you need to ask and answer is, do you believe that God has deposited a part of himself in you and given you gifts and talents from himself? If you agree with that, which all of us have it, then the question is, how do you bring it out? And ChatGPT is not going to bring it out. Putting your children in front of TV is not going to bring it out. Giving them a phone or an iPad is not going to bring it out. In fact, what that's going to do is cover it up instead of bringing it out. It's real education that brings out the gifts and talents that is within. Every human being has that. And I'm going to end with this. One of the greatest examples, and I use this example because people are familiar with it, is the example of our brother Malcolm. Now, we know that Malcolm went to an all-white school in Omaha, Nebraska, and when he was in 8th grade, you read his autobiography, he was the smartest student in the class.
Isn't that something?
Smartest student in the class, top of the class. And he goes to his teacher, his white teacher, and he tells his white teacher, his teacher asks him, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? And Malcolm tells him, I want to be a lawyer. And the teacher, what did the teacher, did the teacher pour into Malcolm? See, a black teacher would have poured into him. Did the teacher pour into Malcolm and give everything that he could to help him accomplish his goal and desire of being a lawyer? The teacher didn't do that. The teacher put a needle in Malcolm, a needle in his brain. Means he put an idea in his mind that destroyed the idea of him wanting to be a lawyer to help his people. So he said, oh, you'll never be a lawyer. White people won't hire a black lawyer, and black people won't hire a black lawyer. But you work well with your hands, you should be a carpenter. So now that is a needle in the brain of a brilliant black child. And when you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, he says that he became disenchanted with school. Stop right there. Your children, some of them are disenchanted right now, and you don't know why. You take them every day, you drop them off, you pick them up, you give them bologna sandwiches. You don't know why they're disenchanted with school. They're disenchanted for the same reason that Malcolm was disenchanted, because somewhere along the way, somebody put a needle in the brain of your black child.
That's right.
And you're dealing with the consequences. You're dealing with the effect, but you don't know the cause. Your child don't want to go to school. They fighting in the bathroom. They smoking weed, shooting dice, rolling blunts. They don't want to have nothing to do with education. And when you took them when they were younger, they couldn't wait to get to school. They would have their backpack by the door. What happened? Somebody along the way put a needle in the brain of your black child, just like they did Malcolm, just like they tried to do to the minister, just like they did to millions of black children across the country. So now Malcolm became disenchanted and turned to a life of crime. And when he turned to a life of crime, he ended up where most brothers end up, the penitentiary. He was given 7 years. Well, he was in there for 7 years, 7 months, 7 days, but he was given 10 years. And when he went to prison, the same thing that happens to most of us happened to him. He got worse when he went to prison.
Wow.
He got worse than Detroit Red and Dirty Red. When he went to prison, he became Satan in prison. The prisoners called him Satan. I need you to just think critically for a minute. Don't put it in Chat GPT, because I'm telling nothing but straight facts. The prisoners gave him the nickname of Satan because when he went to jail, he became worse than Dirty Red, worse than Detroit Red. So the cutthroats, the gangbangers, the pedophiles, the serial killers, the bank robbers, they looked at Malcolm
and called him
Satan.
Satan.
The nickname Satan.
As wicked as they
were. In his autobiography, listen to what he says. He said, I sunk to the very bottom of the American white man society. But now in prison, I found Islam, and it completely transformed my life.
Wow.
Now, what Malcolm found, he found Islam, but what Malcolm found in the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad was a true and proper education. Wow. That's what he found.
That's right.
So when Malcolm's brother came to him and said, look, Reginald, look, we're going to get you out of here. All you got to do is stop smoking and stop eating pork. Malcolm thought he was going to get sick and they was going to let him go. That was just the prelude to the true and proper education that he was about to receive from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad started to teach Malcolm while he was still in prison with the nickname of Satan, Malcolm became a model prisoner and came out with what he got from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He used what he got and he became a world leader. Now, this is one of the greatest examples of a true and proper education, of how education brings out what God has put within. So we marvel at Malcolm. We call him the shining black prince, but we don't look at the education that he received that made him the man that we marvel. You got the same thing in Muhammad Ali, the exact same thing. We love Muhammad Ali. We post his videos on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, and we say how strong he was, but we don't look and see what education did this black man receive that made him so strong. He received the same education that Malcolm received. He received the same education that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and so many others that we love, that we honor, that we respect for their courage. They received a proper education, and that proper education brought out what God put within. And when God came out, we all marveled at that. We marvel to this day.
Absolutely.
So, brothers and sisters, we're talking about education. I'm giving you an example of our brother Malcolm, brother Muhammad Ali, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All of these men were given a true and proper education from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I have to say this, that true and proper education is rooted in the knowledge of self. And this is why we marvel at them, because that education brought out what God put in each and every one of those men.
Man, but man, that is outstanding. A lot of people do not know and understand the tremendous impact that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad continues to have on Black society. The whole idea, when you go into a church and see a Black representative of Christ,
come on,
the idea that a Black representative, that did not happen before the most honorable Elijah Muhammad began to teach. And in fact, in 1969, when a Black Christ was put on the cover of Ebony, Black preachers went crazy.
Yeah, they got hate mail, brother.
Brother Darrell, we got a phone call.
Okay, yes, sir. Let's go ahead and take that caller.
Go ahead, caller.
Yes.
Go ahead, Sister Khadija.
Wa alaikum salam.
Sister
Yes,
Khadija.
I want to see another outstanding program, as always. I know you mentioned about reading. If we just
Can you hear?
reading. Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
go ahead, ma'am.
Oh, yes. How reading is essential. Put away the iPad and everything, but reading and understanding what you have read, the comprehension is just as important. I wanted to mention that through integration, one of my best teacher was Miss Emily Lewis of Lurville, and she taught us like with love and with respect, and we didn't have to subject ourselves to being called all these other names by the white students, and that in itself was ideal, because it made me want to become a teacher. Brother Abdul, I wanted to ask you, dealing with your traumatic ordeal in the school system in Chicago, how did that turn out, sir?
Well, my sister, we are still fighting. As I said earlier, whenever there's an educator that properly educates Black children, and not just me, any educator, those educators have always been attacked. And your brother is now in the company of the great educators that have been attacked for giving Black children a proper education. So, sister, we are still fighting. We're in court right now, and we have a meeting with the judge on February 19th. So we're still in the fight.
Absolutely. And we pray that Almighty God, Allah, bless you to be victorious, as what I've been able to see, that truth is definitely on your side.
Absolutely.
And but of course, in this system of wickedness, truth is one of those things that they attempt to mute. But the way that you have handled yourself and handled the issue, really for a lot of us who believe in the education of Black children, has been stellar. The way you've handled yourself in the media, the way you've handled yourself on podcasts, and just how you have been just a good brother, telling the truth, not being afraid, has really provided all of us who love education with being, with a wonderful example.
All praise is due to
how you deal with trial and how you stand up for what is right. Because standing up for what's right is not easy.
Not at all.
And
not at all.
Sister,
I want to thank you for asking that question, and thank you for asking about the case. Because yes, we are still in the fight, and we're not going to stop until Allah blesses us with the victory. So thank you for that question. And if you would like, you can go on my website for all the viewers to learn more about this fight in Chicago that I'm currently leading against the corrupt public school system in Chicago. You can go on the website justiceforabdulmuhammad.com. Again, that website is justiceforabdulmuhammad.com. If you search on Google, it's going to pop right up, and you can get some background on the case that I'm fighting against Chicago public schools right now. Thank you for your question.
Absolutely. And of course, even down here in Louisiana, it is known the struggle that you're dealing with. There have been Black principals. I'm talking about award-winning Black principals that have actually been removed when parents of what we call the grafted type have tried to undermine the principal and what that principal was doing. We're talking award-winning people that know what they're doing. Now, on page 130 of Message to the Black Man, and you can come in and let me know how this applies to education. The ex-slaves, it says, of America desire to go to their white masters' restaurants instead of building one for self and kind. You want to go to their schools and learn with white people who hate your very shadows. I say to you, this is a disgrace to act so dependent. How does that, and do you think that applies significantly to education as we transition from what they called a segregated situation, where my grandfather was a principal, into what we call an integrated situation, where he ended up, being in administration, but he had to give up his principalship.
Brother Darrell, we have another call on the line. Y'all want to take one more caller?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
sir,
take
absolutely.
another call. But
Go ahead, caller.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, guys, great topic, the education of our children. But Abdul, you started with our solution, which is our resolution for us to get our own constitution. You mentioned how this government deliberately broke the Black family up for them not to get that generational knowledge, which was our true college. This European have lied to us, and we keep on being willfully ignorant to all the facts that they give us, and we keep letting people manipulate us like we got to stay in this system of ignorance. You talk about that nothing but that we can't do what they don't allow us to do, which is another lie. You didn't say it, but this is what they tell us, that we got to be under them. And our biggest problem is their kind of education is nothing but an indoctrination to get our assimilation, to get their validation as being some good colored people. And what you said, everything you done said is so true, but that's to make the educated, the ones who think they are educated, understand that all we do for these people, we can do for ourselves, and they need us to survive. And our biggest problem is that we don't know our African history, and they don't want to teach our children their African history because they want you to be stuck in this European history, which is nothing but lies.
Yes,
This is
sir.
why they deliberately break up the Black family, so we cannot get that generational knowledge, so we don't understand. We don't have to be under them, because like I said, all my community, which was our unity, was the people that taught me everything I know today. I didn't go to college and none of that, but the common sense these old people put in me to see things for what they truly are. We got to understand and tell our children, this is what you are, this is what you study, this is what you give them. So keep talking with your talk, man, but don't edit nothing. Tell it how it is. If anybody get offended, they got the problem, not us. It's time to us to get our history back in form like we used to be. Thank you.
I want to just jump in with what my brother said, because the greatest thing, now I've taught for over 30 years. The greatest thing that I did in all of my 30 years of teaching, I'm saying this for all the teachers that's out there. The greatest thing that I did, and I've done a lot of great things, but the greatest thing that I did was give Black children the knowledge of who they are. The knowledge of self is the greatest gift that we can give our children. So if you have children for 40 weeks, they come to you and they're mandated by the government, the state and federal government, they're mandated to come to you every day for 40 weeks and give you access to their minds. Like, that's the greatest gift that you could have. So the question is, how are you going to spend the 40 weeks that you have with these Black children that are giving you the access to their minds?
Come on now.
So what I did in the 40 weeks that God blessed me to be with them is I tried to give them as much of the knowledge of who they were that I could in 40 weeks. And as a result, they loved me to death. And as my brother said, they became, they went out and eventually did great things themselves, because just like Brother Malcolm, just like Muhammad Ali, they were given a knowledge of self, and that knowledge of self made them confident, and they went in the world and became successful with the knowledge that they received. So, brother, I definitely agree with you. And to your point, Brother Daryl, the thing about, we definitely need proper education. We definitely need schools for Black children. But the thing that we need is we also need the money, which means our tax dollars that go to these schools that come out in our property taxes. We don't just need to get the separate schools and not get the separate money as well to pay for these schools. So, the thing about education is that the Black children are definitely being miseducated. The Latino or Hispanic children, they're being miseducated. And the reality is that the white children are being miseducated as well. So this is the reality of what we face in America, that all of these children are being miseducated in the public school system. But what we have to do is we have to make something better for our children. So if we demand, and we should demand, separate education, if the educational system that our children are in will not treat our children with freedom, justice, and equality, then yes, we should demand a separate education for our children and demand the money that's our money be separated as well.
Absolutely. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if we do these things, we can produce a better nation.
Oh, absolutely.
Of people.
Yeah, education is the key, brother. Our children are being ruined in the public school system. They're being ruined. And so we have to, as parents, as educators, we have to take it upon ourselves to give our children a true and proper education.
Absolutely. And I have told people for quite a while that our children normally look like us. And they look like us because they're our responsibility.
Right.
And even as, we can talk about the miseducation, as parents, we have to take charge. As we're taught in the nation to take charge of this post and all temporal property in view. As Muslims, we understand we have to take charge of our children and be the people that are the gatekeepers of who and what has access to the minds of our children, because now we have these devices that Satan uses to come right on in. So while we're sleeping, Satan and Satan's foolishness is coming right on into these devices and is programming our children much the same way as television used to do in the 70s and 80s. But now it's 24/7. It's 24/7, and at 3 a.m,
Right.
some satanic thing could happen with our children. So good parenting and good education is worth more now than it ever was in the past.
Get your children a flip phone, brothers and sisters. Just get them a flip phone and keep it moving. Get them a track phone.
Get them a track phone.
You know, so I'll say this real quick for all the educators as well as parents. There's a book called The Teenage Brain by this neuroscientist. You can look it up. It's on Amazon, I'm sure. But in this book, she talks about cell phones. She talks about different things, because the thing about the teenage brain is it's not fully developed. It's still developing, and the brain is not fully developed until you're like, in your 20s. So the portion of the brain where decisions are made, which is like the frontal lobe, where the decision-making processes take place, that part of the brain is not fully developed. And so things like a cell phone, because the cell phone is also a tactile device, which we didn't have that. So it's not like it's 10 times worse than television, because on the cell phone, it stimulates the pleasure centers of the brain, unlike what television did, right? So a teenage brain develops differently because it's still developing, right? So a teenage brain that is affected by constant cell phone use is different than an adult brain, right? Because the adult brain has already been developed. So what happens in the brain is that there are these connections, these neural connections in the brain. And the more you do a thing, the stronger the connection in the brain becomes. So at a certain point, that connection becomes so strong that the action is like second nature. Because what the brain does, once the connection is made, when you continue to do the thing, it puts a wax-like substance over the connection to make it even stronger, right? So this is why when you get in a car accident and you have amnesia, you can't remember, because all of those connections in the brain were severed, and it takes time for the brain to regrow those connections. So this is why they say put the person around people they know, bring pictures that they've seen, because what you're doing is you're helping the brain to regrow these connections. So when an adult smokes a blunt in a fully developed brain, it has a different impact than when a teenager smokes a blunt, because now the blunt is causing the teenage brain to develop at a slower pace. So
2 minutes, Brother Darrell, 2 minutes.
Any parent or educator that deals with young people, I would recommend you get this book called The Teenage Brain, because it's going to help you to understand your teenager a lot better, and how they think and how they process, and some of these detrimental things that we allow to be in their lives or that are in their lives. So it'll give you a great perspective, brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. And you mentioning a book that one can order from Amazon is just an example of how you continue to study and continue to find ways to reach the children, continue to try to understand. Even though you graduated from college or 30 years ago or more, you still are in an active pursuit of knowledge of how to get better and to become more effective. And so that's a testament to you and the character that you exemplify.
Man, all praise is due to Allah, my brother. I want to definitely thank you for having me on the show. But I also want to say that, I've been blessed to go into these schools and transform them. So I want all parents, educators, and everybody listening to know there's absolutely nothing wrong with Black children. I've been teaching Black children my entire adult life. There's nothing wrong with our children. Our children have not been properly educated, and we're seeing the byproduct of the miseducation of the Black child. But once we decide as parents, as educators, as community people who are in the Black community, once we decide to give our children, as the Black Panthers decided, the Black Panthers didn't wait on the public school system. The Black Panthers decided that when the children got home from being indoctrinated in the public school system, that they would then re-educate those Black children. They didn't wait for the government. They didn't wait for the grant. They took the children that were in their community and they did their best to give them a proper education. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad did this. Say it again.
Well as breakfast on the way
Absolutely, absolutely. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad opened 47 schools in the United States of America. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is following in those footsteps, and we are following those footsteps. The most important thing that we can do for our children, brothers and sisters, is give them a proper education. That is the most important thing that we can do, because that is going to follow them and be with them for the rest of their life.
Man, I want to, of course, thank you, brother, for coming on the show. We look forward to having you back on the show because this issue of education is something we have to hone in on. It is extremely important, and all of us as Black people must value education if we value our future. I want to thank you so much for coming on the program. I want to thank the viewing audience who tune into the Community Defender Talk Show. We wouldn't be anything without you. I want to thank our producer, Sister Khadijah. I want to thank our director, Brother Jay. Thank y'all so much. We love you so much. And of course, this is a labor of love. I'm your brother, Brother Darrell Muhammad. And I just want to greet everybody in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum in this Black History Month. And of course, you know, it's Black History Year, Black History Decade on the Community Defender. Thank y'all so much.